Okay, I'm gonna keep this short and simple. I know how to fix Rainbow Six Extraction, but first, let me address the game's problems. The game's too repetitive, the progression system is super underwhelming. There's barely any game modes, some objectives feel extremely unfair, especially when playing solo, there's no story, lack of new maps and enemies, and some quality of life issues. So, how do we solve these problems? Well, let's start by adding a new progression system. This is gonna be tough to work on, but I think adding a skill tree to all operators, or maybe adding 2 paths you could take for each one, would be a great way to revive the grind. I have an idea on how this could work. In Rainbow Six Siege, Tachanka has a Shumika grenade launcher instead of his turret. Having the progression system allow you to choose between the mounted turret versus Shumika grenade launcher would leave the playstyle of the operator up to the player. This could work for operators like Fuse, who has a shield in the original game. In this alternative path, allow Fuse to only be able to use his shield and sidearm of choice, but he gets to fire a cluster grenade out of his shield periodically. Making the system work for operators like Pulse, Vigil, IQ, and Rook will be very difficult, but at least reworking and expanding the operator progression to be a skill tree instead of linear progression would be a very welcome change. However, other than being hard to implement, the prestige system would also need a rework, and I haven't figured that one out yet. Add a new map. This has been a point the community has been very vocal about, and for good reason. 1 year later and no new maps? I know these maps take a while to work on, and honestly, the ones we have now are great, and I still love playing Monolith Gardens and Orpheus Research Center. But please, at least one new subzone would be nice? Not nearly enough to appease the community, but at least to keep the game alive a little longer. Also, let's add a new country to be affected by the Chimera. There's no way that the Archeans went all the way to Alaska without even touching Canada. Also, New Mexico looks like it's done for. By the looks of the maps there, the Archeans should already be punching through all of Central America by now. Not only would this be the perfect excuse to add new maps, but it would help the Archeans really feel like a global threat, far worse than the Chimera ever was. I also just want cooler map design. That's kind of broad, so I'll just explain. You know how in the lobby when looking at San Francisco, you can see a rocket ship? First time I saw that, I thought we were going in there. But no, you can only see it from a distance. I also wish we could at least enter the Pioneer in-game, that aircraft carrier that you see when extracting. Either have it as the lobby screen, or at least as a playable map, because that would separate the map design from other games. Add a new enemy. No, I don't want a more annoying grunt, a spiker that can end your run in one shot, or a smoker that is rarely an issue. I like the idea of an enemy that can pull you away from your team. There's an enemy like this in Left 4 Dead 2, called the Smoker, who pulls you away from your team, and you and your team needs to kill it before it kills you. I also like the Hunter, who pounces on you and starts to deal massive damage if your team doesn't kill it. Add a counterattack system. I propose this idea because of the times where a random grunt just runs out of nowhere, does a 3-hit combo and takes away like 60 HP. This system could work like the counters in Resident Evil 2 Remake, where if you get attacked and press a button, you can counter and avoid damage. You can balance this by allowing a counterattack if you have a glue grenade, a flashbang, or a paralysis grenade. Also, if the enemy does a combo, you would still take damage from the first swing, so it isn't a get out of jail free card. Add a new ranked mode. I know what this could look like. In Payday 2, a game where you rob banks, which is honestly a great oversimplification of the game, there's a mode where you can just go on a streak of heists until you either quit or fail. I'm not sure if that's exactly how this works, but this is how the new ranked system could work. So start with an incursion on a random map, finish it, and then continue to another random map with another random mutation, and the longer you go, the more XP and rewards you get. And to make it more challenging, every operator you die as, you cannot play as again until you end the streak. Also, this doesn't replace the old one, this is just like another extra ranked mode, just for fun. Make a custom game option. Make these custom games super customizable. Have it so that you can increase squad sizes and change the Archeans that spawn and their spawn rates. For example, 10-person incursion, but all the enemies are smashers and nests spawn 2 times the amount of Archeans. Reintroduce crisis events as either crisis assignments or as mutations. Spillover should be a crisis assignment. Nightmare Fog could also be one, along with Aftershock. I feel like the Eclipse event could be a mutation. Having all the lights off during the entire incursion was also a good concept, but not enough to base a crisis event off of it. However, it could give the regular incursions a bit of a horror element to them. Make some more prestige rewards. I like the headgear and uniforms, however, I feel like a gun skin and an operator-specific charm would make it a little better. One final thing that isn't really about gameplay, cosmetics. The cosmetics in this game are absolutely phenomenal, and are way better than the ones in Rainbow Six Siege. I've seen some people say that they want the cosmetics from Rainbow Six Extraction to transfer over into Siege, which would add incentive to actually buy or grind the cosmetics. I feel like this would be a great addition to Extraction, as people who want these cosmetics in Siege would start playing Extraction for them. Add new operators. Look, I'll add Warden to this game for you. If you don't know who Warden is or what he does, he's an operator from Rainbow Six Siege that can see through smokes and is immune to flashbangs while his glasses are active. In Extraction, he can counter smokers, bloaters, blinding mines, and spores, and when he's fully upgraded, allow him to be immune to the Apex's blinding effect, and let him give his teammates blinding resistance when in a certain radius. Also, in Siege, his glasses see through smoke only when he's standing still, which I think should be removed if he's added to the game. Now this is just lore and story complaints. Add more operator interactions. In the original game mode of R6 Outbreak, the operators had light banter at the start of the incursion and between subzones. For example, if Tachanka, Finka, and Fuse are on the same team, Tachanka should say, "Drinks are on me tonight, comrades." And if Doc and Lion are on the same team, they should have a little discussion about their past history, since they do share lore. This game is the perfect opportunity to explore the backstories of these beloved operators, and I was extremely disappointed when there wasn't any more voice lines in the game. Adding this would add a nice touch to the game, giving the operators more personality. Adding this would one-up Rainbow Six Siege, since there's not much lore in that game other than operator bios, due to the game mainly being focused on PvP. Please expand on the story. I think I'm literally the only person ever reading the operator bios and crisis event debriefs. I'm telling you, a campaign for this game would really get plenty of eyes on this game, and might regain the favor of the Rainbow Six Siege community. And a reminder that this game is not dead, but it is on life support. The Rainbow Six Siege community has essentially disowned this game, and absolutely despise it, calling it a worse copy of the original game mode and a cash grab. I mean, you can't really argue with them. This game came out with not too many features and updates few and far between that kept the game barely alive. However, the Rainbow Six Siege community forgets that Siege released in the same state Extraction did, just way more buggy. The key difference is that the devs updated the game and made it the largest tactical shooter on the market. I believe that these changes would really help this game thrive. So for the love of everything Ubisoft, let's try not to fuck this one up, please.